Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu, mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Do you feel full of self-doubt? Do you self-sabotage and do you lack the clarity to take action on your goals? If the answer is yes, you need to hear this session with Jesse Hoffman, and he's going to talk about how to get in flow with MindPeak coaching. First question is, what's the secret to your success?
That's a great question. I think there really is no true secret to any success. I think it's right out there in the open for anyone that wants it. It's all about having the clarity and focus on the steps to take in order to get to where you want to get to. And you can only achieve that through the clarity of what that end goal is and kind of reverse engineering the steps to get to it. So, a lot of the hot words is just consistency, clarity, and that'll compound into the outcome that you desire. For me, I think the ability or the practice to slow your mind down at times, especially for any of those high achieving entrepreneurs, people with a lot of big thoughts, you want to slow down your thoughts a few moments at a time and kind of take one step, act on one step, figure out the next one. That's what's worked for me. Patience as well.
Thank you. How can entrepreneurs get in flow so they can take more action on their goals?
Yeah, so especially considering flow in the psychological perspective and the theory of flow, the godfather of flow, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I think when it comes to flow and business, again, we are a byproduct of our systems, of our routines. And in order to achieve flow as you would in sports versus business, it requires repetition and rehearsal, which means consistency, building out habits and being able to act on them repeatedly. I think that focus allows you to train your mind in order to achieve the flow that you want, whether it's locking in and building out a website or building out your programs or SOPs for your business or whatever the case is. It requires a level of habits and systems and processes that you can rinse and repeat.
Thank you. Tell us about some steps entrepreneurs can take in order to get in flow so they can achieve MindPeak.
Yes. So really great ways to get into flow, again, comes back to having routines that you can rehearse time after time, whether for you, to throw out a few things that I prefer to do myself, whether it starts with waking up in the morning and hydrating your body, with, of course, water and maybe electrolytes and moving your body. There are actually physical indications and signals that your brain sends to your rest of your body to be able to lock in and revert. That also, can be reverse engineered as well. There's signals that your muscles and different things can send to your brain to say, okay, it's time to focus. So if you can build certain windows of time throughout your day where you create a set of actions that you take leading up to whether it's sitting down at a desk or whatever your workflow is, building consistency there allows you to create a connection to your mind and trigger flow a lot more effectively.
Thank you. Tell us about some peak performance habits that can lead to mind flow and peak mind.
Okay. So a lot of specific habits, I think, that are able to lead to peak performance within whatever you're doing is building routines and rituals that you can repeat, such as a series of tasks. For example, hydrating your body, doing some stretching or priming exercises, to engage kind of those muscles in your brain to start to act and fire, and then follow through with a series of, maybe it's breathing for you, or for other people it might be something different, a series of actual actions that can prime your brain to getting into the workflow that you're about to dive into.
Thank you. What do you feel that entrepreneurs should do in order to figure out what are their triggers for mind flow? The reason I ask this is because I find that it's not so easy to stumble upon the specific actions that will lead onto flow. For me, for example, every time I dance, I feel like I'm almost in a trance where I am getting into flow. And I love it so much that after a while, I feel like I am appreciating myself more. Like I become smarter. I get better ideas. I get more opportunities. I'm syncing more with opportunities that were there. I'm remembering certain things that were always there. I'm remembering certain solutions that were always there. I'm remembering some money that maybe I didn't remember even that I had. I'm even remembering about certain things like, oh, I have some coins somewhere, or I have, like friendships that I need to reactivate. There's so much that happens, but it's so easy to forget what are those triggers. And it's so easy once you actually know and you implement these habits that you say. But how can entrepreneurs figure out what is my specific trigger for mind flow?
Yeah, no, I love that, Lily. And that's a great example as well. Ultimately, flow requires a few different things. And I won't go into the lengths of that today, but in order to achieve flow, you need to find tasks that are demanding to you, right? They have to be a demanding task that you have to exert energy into. That will tell your brain to kind of go into that fight or flight response of kind of tapping into everything that it can, whether it's certain memories that allow you to perform a certain dance move or create a certain procedure. But I think first and foremost, after finding those demanding tasks, it's finding things that you have an ability to do, right? Because you want to tap into those innate abilities, which can compound into passion and confidence. So a lot of people expect the passion to come later, but usually it comes from the confidence built over time of something that you can be really good at. So I would say for any business owners or professionals, entrepreneurs that are looking to find ways to engage into flow, find the tasks that are most demanding to you, and then create an environment and a setup of actions that you can take to trigger whatever you're trying to dive into. So a lot to unpack there, Lily, with the question. And I think with more specific examples, I could highlight some ways to do so, but that's what I would say.
Thank you. I find that it's hard for me to go to the gym because I really dislike it.
Of course.
That I really like going swimming. And when I'm swimming, I feel in flow and so on. But a few months ago, I started going to the gym. And although I did find it very challenging at first, what I found was that it was triggering in me something that I hadn't discovered in a really long time. It was making me feel temporarily a lot better. And it was a sensation that I hadn't discovered in other things that I was doing. So my question for you is, how can entrepreneurs get themselves to do those things that are hard, that feel hard, but they know deep down those are activities they should be doing in order to go to mind flow?
Yeah. So first and foremost, what you need to do is, at least within my coaching process, what's really important for me to do is to understand what is the point of resistance toward that desired action. So in your example, it's just going to the gym, right? What is the resistance to it? Of course, there's physical effort involved. No one wants to go and exert their body and do all these things. So what is the resistance to doing that? A lot of times it's simply the first step of putting on your gym clothes and just walking out of the door. And so a lot of times when you evaluate the resistance and strip away each layer, it makes it a lot easier to at least step in the gym. So whether you drive or walk or in your apartment building, physically going and walking into the gym is usually that first step that needs to happen, right? And so stripping away any resistance to doing that one thing is kind of the first thing you need to tackle. From there, it's as simple as go and pick up one dumbbell and do a single curl. All right, you now have built that action. And then that compounds into itself where you've now almost set up a dopamine feedback loop because you've been to the gym before and you knew that you felt good immediately afterwards, right? So you have that in the back of your mind. So you're seeking that reward, but you don't want to go through the whole effort to get there. So you need to compound actions that can start to give you quick hits of dopamine that can build towards that desired outcome, which is after a half an hour or an hour in the gym. So strip away the friction of stepping into the gym. You do one exercise at a time with no expectation of how long you'll be there. And next thing you know, you go and you feel accomplished for getting there. You build that over a certain number of days. You build that habit. And now you have that recurring effect. And so now you've redirected that feedback loop from one specific occurrence to now, oh my gosh, I was so consistent. I had my clothes ready to go. I got to the gym. I had a protein shake. All these little habits that are building up to what you want. And you keep that consistency over time. And, 2 weeks, technically up to 2 months later, it'll be natural to you.
Thank you. I find that going for a walk or a run, I really dislike running, but let's say going for a walk quickly, or even going shopping feels a little bit like it does trigger a feel good feeling. Mm-hmm. And then that feel good feeling kind of translates into feeling more in flow and getting better ideas. Now, I find as well that organizing my house really helps me with my mental clarity, because it enables me almost like to not think of anything. And because I'm almost like setting this premise of I'm not thinking about anything, I'm just looking at this box and I'm going to put it in the nicest possible way in the fridge or in my drawer. And I know, but somehow it kind of enables me to have an even deeper mental clarity just because I'm doing this routine activity. What kind of routine activities do you recommend for entrepreneurs to do so they can also trigger this mind flow and peak mind?
Yeah, I love that so much. And, you remind me of an example. One thing that has helped me, I had been renovating properties that I have and that I manage. And, it went through a flood, but long story short, I was painting walls, I was laying floors, I was doing all these things that were monotonous tasks that were somewhat demanding, required somewhat of a level of focus. But I felt that those were the times where I was able to unravel my mind. And so I want to highlight one thing that I think is really important to me that I encourage, especially the younger generation. We're sucked in and consumed by stimulus on social media and a lot of other things. I think it was Cal Newport that actually coined this term years after I'd been trying to explain it. And of course, he comes out with a two-word phrase that just hits the nail on the head. Solitude deprivation is what he called it. And what I like to say is you need to find ways to not deprive yourself of solitude, to give yourself that time where it's just you and your mind. Maybe you're performing a task, and that allows you to kind of cycle through your thoughts. I think that also feeds into a level of self-confidence. Is you should be confident to put down TikTok, put down your phone, and sit with yourself and perform a certain task that you can unravel your own mind in. And so I think that might not be a direct answer to your question, but specific things and activities that someone could do are something that requires a level of repetition, all right, because it takes away the variability and the stimulus that you're achieving. So, for me, jumping rope. First of all, the most efficient workout. If you dread going to the gym or you dread running or anything like that, 10 minutes of jumping rope or 2 minutes of jumping rope is running a mile. So instead of 10 minutes to run a mile, you jump rope in 2 minutes and you've achieved the same effect. And it's a repetitive exercise. So on the fitness front, jump roping, hands down, one of the best things I could recommend. And of course, there's a physical connection between your mind and body, which allows you to perform better mentally if you're moving your entire body. So on the physical front, it's that. On something else similar to what you said, something that requires a level of organization, whether it's doing laundry or whatever the case is, cleaning your house. There's a big trend of outsourcing all of those things, which is great if you can afford it and you can really buy back your time and optimize time. But there is a tangible benefit of organizing something, and that repetition of, decluttering a space allows you to kind of unlock a lot of the parts of your mind that stay dormant otherwise. And so find value in that as well, and use that as an efficiency to kind of achieve flow in some ways and unravel some of your thoughts that might be sitting in the background, if that helps.
Thank you. I find that also listening to audiobooks or podcasts helps tremendously as well with mental clarity. And the reason why it helps is because, let's say you're going for a walk, or you have to go and pick up your children from school, or you pick up your husband on the way to, on the way to work, or whatever it is. And it's almost like you're switching off, and at the same time you're listening to something. And I find that you can make a lot of connections between what is being said in the audiobook or in the podcast and different things that you actually need a solution for in your life. And I find that can help you tremendously in terms of becoming almost like feeling like you're becoming smarter, and you're getting more clarity about the next steps you should take in your business. So much so that every time I listen to an audiobook or a podcast, I take notes in my, I have this, Google Drive notes on my phone. And then I look at different things different actions that I should be taking that are related to those things. Now, are there any other actions similar to this that you recommend in terms of reaching mental clarity and peak mind?
Yeah, of course. So exactly what you just said is really great. Being able to listen to something and take the time to basically journal it and rehearse some of those thoughts that you've had. One thing that I would recommend, I've read a lot of books. I've listened to a lot of books. Whenever I work out in the gym, I'm one of those people that's listening to an audiobook or a podcast. I don't listen to music, really. And same thing when I'm driving or when I was doing a lot of those laborious things that I was doing that require repetition. That's a great way or great time to listen to things and consume things that are really valuable. And there's no better way to learn than from other people's experiences. So reading for that purpose is great. One thing that I encourage, we all want to say, I read 30 books in a month, right? That's great if you have the time. But sometimes you read a whole book and you don't take the time to actually get the value from the pieces that really stand out to you. So if you make the focus rather than reading a quantity, you want to read a specific excerpt or quality section of a book that elicits a lot of thoughts, and then pause and take the time to unpack those thoughts that you're having in a way that applies to your day-to-day, that applies to your present existence. So Lily, I 100% agree. And that's exactly what my recommendation would be, is listen to a chunk of something. As soon as you feel like there's something there, stop listening and unpack what's there, because you can consume so much and you can't possibly retain it all. So that's something I definitely encourage. I'm a very slow reader as well, and I'm totally proud of it because it allows me to retain a lot more information more effectively.
Thank you. What do you suggest in terms of tapping into your super genius? What I mean by that is that every time I'm reaching flow, I'm feeling almost like I'm Superwoman. Okay. So it's like when I'm doing a website, or when I'm doing, the copy for a website, or I'm writing a book, or I'm writing copy for something, I find that there's a massive difference between when you feel in flow and when you feel like you have reached this super genius area or zone. And then there's a big difference when you're just like trying to work and the words are not coming out. And then it feels like pulling hair or pulling teeth, and everything is just so hard. So I'm wondering, is there anything you recommend for entrepreneurs to instantly go from this area of friction and pushing and trying hard into tapping into this super genius we all have, if only we knew how to do it?
Yeah, that's a tough one. And ultimately with my clients, that takes time to achieve because it requires a bit of trial and error. And so I think one way to really figure out what is my genius, what is my thing, right? It requires repetition of a lot of different tasks. And ultimately, it requires the intuition to lean into things that feel really valuable to you and that seem to move you in a certain direction. And I think there's an energy out there in the world that drives specific people in different directions. And so I would say, if you're able to trust your instinct, and if you feel like, oh, wow, this is a topic, or this is a thing that I'm really good at, or whatever the case is, build out a routine for ways to repeatedly execute on those specific tasks. That's a really great question, because I'm thinking of all the different geniuses there are out there, the different, not even individuals, but the different types of genius that there are. And it can be different for anyone. There's artists that can paint a portrait from memory, or, I can't even begin to name all the things. And so that's a really special thing. I think it requires a lot of patience and time and trial and error within yourself to figure out, okay, this feels right, or this feels like something I should move on from, and just trust your instinct there.
Thank you. For me, I find that it's typically the exercise that triggers that flow. And it's just a matter of continuously repeating that particular habit where you are continuously either running or exercising, playing tennis, swimming, I don't know, even going for a fast walk, or even cleaning your house in a frantic way with both hands, or organizing, or doing some frantic organizing. It tends to be for me something that is physical. And occasionally it can also be where I'm in the shower, and because I'm so relaxed, because I'm feeling that, okay, maybe the weekend has started. And for me, maybe the weekend is not a traditional weekend. It's just a few hours when I have time to do something that I love. And so I feel that it's typically, if you can manage to do something physical that you actually love, that you don't feel pushed to do, you're not doing it because you have to go to the gym. You're not doing it because you have to swim or you have to walk or you have to do something or the other. You do it because you love it, whether it's hiking or anything that you absolutely love that is physical. And it's that is kind of leading you onto this zone of super genius and mind flow. And when you are in this area of mind flow, then you are perhaps 3 times, 5 times more productive than on a normal day. Nothing that you do feels like you're pushing. It feels like you're attracting. It feels like you are in sync with everything you need to do. It feels like everything is flowing. You're not trying hard. Everything is just coming.
Of course.
So I absolutely love that. So tell us what brought you to become an awakened titan, and what is your blueprint for entrepreneurs to become an awakened titan themselves so they can reach mind flow?
Wow. Yeah. So, the idea of being awakened in the sense that to kind of build on top of something you just said, a dormant body leads to a dormant mind. And the opposite of being dormant is to be awakened in a sense. And so one way to really awaken yourself and tap into your potential and unlock what's there is, yes, to be physically active and find those high flow activities that allow you to unlock your genius and your creativity. The other thing too, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, one way to be awakened, or really the only way to be awakened, is to be fully embodied within yourself and confident in the path that you're on and what you're doing. And that confidence comes from skill. All right. Skill turns into passion. All right. And once you've unlocked what that passion is, then you start to seek all these different ways to be as enlightened and actualized as possible. So something I truly believe in is self-actualization, which is, the top tier of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so for me, the process of being awakened is still going, and I think it's never ending. And so my recommendation for any professionals that want to feel as though they've achieved that actual self-actualization, or that kind of awakenedness that everyone's striving for, is to find something that you feel very passionately or skilled at. All right. Repeat that skill time and time again, building out those different high flow activities that are effortless to you and lead to a lot of creative thoughts, or whatever the case is. And tap into that, have a set of pillars or values that you believe in, and align your actions with that. And so once you've achieved clarity, you've achieved that awakenedness, then it's just about consistency and repeating those actions day in and day out.
Thank you. And what's your message to entrepreneurs worldwide who want to reach a peak mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So for any entrepreneurs that really want to achieve their mind peak or their peak mental state, is first and foremost, you have to have a system built out for yourself. You need to treat your life as a business, and within any business, you have to have systems and processes, SOPs. And so having that clarity around the actions that you need to take allow you to have a directed focus towards those actions. And second to that, I believe it as much as anyone else. And as a coach, I have my own coach. You need to have a mentor along the way with you that can see from an objective perspective and kind of lay out the roadmap to get to where you want to get to. And that's through having that objectivity to see what needs to be shifted in your life. It's really hard to see it when you're in it And so having someone that can look at it from kind of a 1,000-foot overview and help you along the way, I think is crucial as well.
Thank you. That was so insightful and fascinating. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness, and manifest anything you desire.